Hi, this is William Robinson, Associate Editor at ViralHare.com, and today we're talking to.
Scott with Comic Conroe.
Well, thanks for being here, Scott. First question. Y'all had a pretty interesting year last year. I attended. I really enjoyed the show and managed to actually navigate in a pretty neat way a lot of the craziness with COVID. It was neat to see how y'all planned everything for everybody on the spectrum on their points of view on COVID. I mean,
Yes.
between the way y'all spaced the aisles out to the sanitation stations, I mean, it was really neatly done.
Yeah.
Um,
Appreciate that.
how has the approach this year kind of changed, or you're kind of keeping things the way it is to make sure the fans still feel comfortable at the show?
We're not really changing. I really do feel like last year worked very well. It was very much, dependent upon the individual person. If you were really worried about COVID, or if you were a high risk individual that has pre-existing conditions that you've got to be concerned about, we wanted you wearing masks. We wanted you to feel safe. We wanted to make sure it was social distance as much as we could, and to have the sanitation stations. We didn't add booths this year because there's still enough COVID out there that we don't want to act like, oh, it's all over, and just cram as many people in as we can.
Right.
We're still social distancing some. We're still leaving the booths a little more open and spaced out. We even actually arranged the room slightly different this year because there were a few choke points that we had last year. We found out,
Right.
unfortunately, first time doing the show, we didn't really know where those choke points were going to be. So this year we spaced it a slight different orientation where we have the artists in the front. It gives us a little more flexibility on those choke points, and we'll clear that out so we won't have any choke points hopefully this year. And that should definitely allow for the same feel we had last year, but just polishing up the edges that didn't flow perfectly.
Right. That's a good plan.
Yeah.
How has a vendor response been this year? Because last year y'all had some really good back issue vendors. I know because I shopped it a little bit, and the way I'll put the craft and toy vendors for the first year, that was really well planned out, I thought, because they kind of played off each other.
Yes.
So along those lines, has response been as good as it was last year for vendors?
So I want to hit on two things on this. So we own another show out in San Angelo, Texas.
Okay.
So we have San Angelo Comic Con, and then we have Comic Conroe. And Comic Conroe was our first show, and it went well. It didn't, due to unforeseen circumstances of the promoter getting COVID the week before, not being able to be there. The fact that it ran remotely with my staff and some people that we called in for help was a godsend, and we were very happy that all the fans had a good time. But we were directly after Comicpalooza and Anime Matsuri. So last year's response on vendors, I've been in the industry for over 11 years and traveling and doing shows, so I know a lot of vendors personally. A lot of it was just they needed to wait. So we had a mad dash at the very end last year to fill the room and to get the good variety we wanted. Not to brag, but San Angelo went so well, and Comic Conroe did very well for its first year.
Right.
We were kind of in a little bit more of a catbird seat. We've been sold out for almost 2 months.
Outstanding.
Yeah, we were, and I've always had the philosophy, both shows run with this basic rule. We have a limitation on any one type of vendor. You're not going to go to one of my shows and have 17 pop vendors and one comic guy sitting in the corner wondering what he's doing there.
Right.
We're not going to have nothing but old toys. We're going to have a good variety, put, like you mentioned, the craft vendors that you have, unique items. So we were, the first year it was a struggle. This year it truly was a luxury, and hopefully we're knock on wood, hopefully we're able to maintain that and move forward with being able to really pick and choose vendors that will bring something to the show rather than just filling a spot.
That's a good philosophy, because sometimes you see in some bigger shows they don't have to balance that out.
Yes.
And going that direction, because you have to talk about San Angelo Comic Con and doing Comic Conroe and I know you've looked at other ideas.
Oh yeah.
This kind of mid-sized show, where it sits in between the community-based shows that are popping up now
Yes.
and the big ones, do you think this is going to be a trend that's going to fill that sweet spot that some fans who can't drive everywhere can
I
get to these
think
local shows?
I think our selling point to the fans will always be we will I don't want to make a commitment that I can never surpass. I don't have any current or immediate future plans of doing anything larger than a 4 to 5,000 person show.
Right,
That's I don't want anything bigger than that. And the reason I don't want anything bigger than that is you lose the personal touch and you lose the meet and greet and have a conversation with the celebrity. You also a lot of times at some of these big shows, it's really just a giant shopping center with not much activity going on. Now
right,
granted, I'm a vendor at those shows, so from personal point of view, I want people shopping and having fun and spending a lot of money. But as a promoter, it's got to be more about the experience. And when you get above 5,000 people, you really lose some of that experience, and it goes more into, like I said, that shopping opportunity, or what we refer to, as autograph shows, where you're
right,
just coming to get autographs and you might spend a little bit of money with the vendors, but mostly you're there for the autographs and then you're out. We want
right.
to build an experience. Like I said, we're really are targeting that number, that mid-size show. We'd like to see it be the future. We're able to keep costs low because of that exact reason. I know a certain other show that just happened last month was over $100 for a weekend pass, and it wound up being 2 days as opposed to the 3 that it was solicited as originally.
Right.
The third day was, I think, a concert or something, but that was it. So a lot of people were disgruntled about that, and that's something that we have a 3-day pass for. If you buy it in advance, you can get it for $40.
That's cool. That
Yeah,
that I think with all the change in the economy going on right now, that's something more affordable for a family to look at.
exactly. Yeah,
So
we're not trying to get rich off. Oh, and our kids 8 and under are free. So,
that's neat.
paying for a child's ticket, makes no sense. But once they get to above 8, they're having fun. They're going to have a lot of fun at the show anyway.
Right. And speaking of fun at the show, I know last year with Kevin Sorbo,
Oh
the
yeah.
actors from Mortal Kombat, Booker T, it seemed like this was very much a action hero type of lineup.
Yes. Yeah.
And this year is a voice actor
Yes.
lineup, which is kind of unique. So, and this to me is stuff on older shows you saw where a show might lean more towards a certain genre of guests.
Yeah.
So, is this kind of a idea? This was kind of a deliberate idea to get this set up like that.
We have no intention of letting people just assume we're going to be the same every year. We
Right.
want to bring, the whole idea here is, we call it Comic Con. Okay, it is Comic Con, but Comic Con past being an old comics in a room with look, I was there too. I was a customer back in those days when you have 40 or 50 comic booths in a room and a bunch of people shopping for old, you had that certain odor in the room of old comic books. And I love that
Yeah.
smell
Yeah.
personally, but that's not what Comic Con is anymore. It's more of the visual and excitement and everything else. So yeah, it was the plan, mostly voice actors this year. Yes, we wanted to get, last year we hit, like you said, the action genre, and we got a few voice actors. This year we went heavily on voice actors. We already have a guest lined up for next year that will be going back the other way. We're going to keep changing things up, and we'll keep bringing in new and hopefully exciting new things to add to the show. Sometimes we'll get rid of something, and unfortunately it may be something that you personally like, but
Right.
it's just, we're rotating things out. We're trying new things and trying to figure out what appeals to more and more and more of the public, because it's, like I said, it's going
Uh,
to always be evolving.
right. And I personally think that's a good approach because the shows in this area 10, 12 years ago, that's what they actually did is they might rotate a group of actors or whoever, or they might have a juxtaposition between an old movie or series and a new one, and that kind
Yes.
of kept things fun.
Yeah.
Um, Now, since this show last year, like I noticed, it's very much geared toward families
Yes.
or more family friendly than other shows.
Yeah.
And so um, this year, you kind of taking a look at some of that stuff and running with it to have stuff for families there, or what's
Yes.
the plan for this year?
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing I don't think we'll ever vary from. If we want to run more adult, product, or more adult themed shows, it'll be a different show. We won't corrupt this show with something like that. Not that
Right.
it's anything wrong with it. It's, if you're an adult and want to choose to watch something like there's an etchy show that goes on in Austin. There's a lot of shows will have 18 plus material.
Right.
When it's not for us. This is a family show. It is for everybody, and we did have one or two incidences last year where we had to say, look, we appreciate the cosplay. The cosplay is great. We're going to need you to put something on. It's a
Yeah.
little too revealing. I'm not a prude, but we do have some really young kids and we don't want to cause problems. So we do tend to be very, very focused on family oriented things. We want family activities. We want family friendly. But we can't always police everything. Like I said, there was a couple things last
Right.
year. Like, okay, we caught the cosplayers involved, and we're just like, hey guys, just tone it down a little bit. Put a scarf around something.
Well put. Now, one thing I noticed also last year is that you guys had some really good involvement from several fan groups. The
Yes,
501st had a small booth out there. There was a couple different fandom groups,
we
and
have
then
the USS Zavala came out.
yes, in fact I
And
talked to them last year. A really
yeah,
great setup. I mean, that was
yes,
awesome.
yes. They brought out the whole. I think it was 10 Forward. I think is what they had there, or was it the actual original series?
Original series.
Original series.
It was some one of their members actually built the
Yes,
officers meeting table from the original series.
that's what it was. Again, I wasn't there, so they told me about it and I didn't get a chance to experience it. So this year they're returning. They have a new setup they're bringing in.
Terrific.
I think she said I could say it. So if I get in trouble for this, I'm going to ask forgiveness rather than permission. Lucy, the leader of the Zavala, she told me that they are going to have a board regeneration chamber. So they're going next generation this year.
Ooh,
So
that's
that
cool.
would be really cool. And they do a great job with their prop setups. So they'll be there. We'll have 501st returning. And this year, for the first time, we're bringing in the Star Wars Enthusiasts of Houston group.
They're a good group of people.
Yes.
I've talked to them several times.
Yeah, and they're bringing in a bunch of they always do giveaways for the fans. They're bringing in a bunch of stuff for the kids and things like that, where they're going to be doing giveaways. So we've got them all coming out. And one last thing for the families, it's not really a fan group per se, because it's really involved to get involved with this group, but we have Armored Combat Worldwide coming out. And I don't know if you've ever experienced them at a show. They are live steel, armored. Think of middle-aged knights, King Arthur's court.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
they get
I've
out
seen them
there.
at like at Renfest and stuff.
Yes.
So yeah,
This is full metal. They go out and swing with all their gusto and literally go at it. And they'll have 2 performances at least. We're working on another one, depending on the weather.
right.
If it's super hot, it'll be end of the day each day on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
If the weather permits, we're going to try and squeeze in one either earlier on Saturday or on Friday. So those guys are great. They actually came out to San Angelo and the fans loved it. I mean, just absolutely amazing. They get out on the grass. It's an outside event, but it's a heck of a show. I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch.
That sounds like fun. Also, I think could give some people, especially younger people, who maybe haven't seen the type of movies we grew up with, the King Arthur and that kind of thing, an appreciation for that kind of genre.
Yep.
So
yeah.
it's neat to have them incorporated.
Yeah.
And I know last year there was a lot of community involvement
Mm-hmm.
from Conroe. A lot of people.
Yeah.
So is that something you do with these shows? Is you're able to because it's a smaller show, have a high level community involvement where they feel like it's, hey, our show, it's our people, it's that
Yes.
kind of bit up
Yeah,
there.
we really do reach out to the local fan base and the comic shops and things like that. Again, Card and Comic Connection is going to be out there. They'll have a full setup, but they're also helping to promote the show. We
Right.
have God, I get their name wrong every time. The Adventure Begins on 242. They're coming out and setting up. We have Space Cadets joining us this year. They're going to be doing some events with us. We also have the number one thing we want to announce is we have our full sponsor coming on board this year for the first time. They were here last year, but they got in at the last minute. They were part of that frantic thing at that last week or so after Comic Palooza happened.
Right.
So this year, Crimson Dawn Lightsabers is actually a local company. A lot of people don't realize that. They're out of Montgomery, Texas,
Wow.
which is
I've seen them at so many shows.
yes, exactly. They're like, they consider Conroe home because it's the next city over, and it's such a small town that they don't really have their own downtown or nerd life or whatever. So they go to Conroe for everything, and they're like, "There's a show here. We've got to be involved in this." So we've talked to the owners. We've been out there to their facilities and talked to them, and they are coming out and doing a full 4-booth setup. They're going to do a big production, and they are our full sponsor. They're a headline sponsor. They're promoting the show for all online and everything, and all their posts. So we're really excited about that.
Well, between the Crimson Dawn, the Star Wars enthusiasts, and 500 First, I mean, if that don't reel in any Star Wars fans, then they're asleep at the wheel.
I was gonna say, I don't think they are online. Their internet connection must have been severed due to COVID.
Last question: with the way you're looking at local shows here in the greater Southeast Texas area,
Yeah.
is there any sweet spot you think that hasn't been looked at hard you'd like to try to put a show in?
We're actually, and not to give anything away because we don't have anything locked in yet, but we're targeting
Right.
2 separate locations in West/Southwest Houston to do
Okay.
an additional show. We're also looking at there was another event that used to happen up in Longview, Texas, that was discontinued for some reason, and we felt like that is an area that could and would probably do well with the show. I did not have a problem with the size of the show it was. For whatever reason, the people who were putting it on, I think they pulled back from the Texas market, and it leaves a hole. That whole Northeast Texas area needs a show. We're also looking at potentially Southwest Louisiana. So we've got our eyes on different locations, and we're not trying to expand too fast. We've got 2 shows currently running great. We're moving. Conroe is going to move into March of next year. We have San Angelo in February, Comic Conroe in March, and that'll leave me the rest of the year to plan accordingly on where we want to put the next 1 or 2 shows that we add next year. And that's the goal. Bring as much nerddom to the smaller areas around the big cities. The big cities, for the most part, are well served. There's nothing wrong with big giant shows, but if you can get a little more, you may not have a Ben Affleck or a Jason Momoa or Jeremy Renner coming out to the show, but when you get Chuck Huber and Rico Fajardo, and you have Stephanie Nadolny and Adasa, these are fan-centric celebrities. They're all about having fun with the fan, and you get a lot more experience with them rather than, here's your autograph, you got 30 seconds to talk. Oh, that's too long. Go ahead. Next.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I don't, and honestly, I ran numbers, and to be honest with you, with the amount of money that they have to make to meet the requirements for those celebrities, for some of those budgets, I understand why they run you through, and it just doesn't make a fun experience.
Right.
So, that's never going to be our goal. We want to keep it small like this, but again, the negative is you're not going to get those big mega names. So, we work the middle ground.
And I think that's important to find a balance in these shows because that way you don't lose sight of what the fans are there for. So
Exactly.
I think that's great. And on that note, Scott, I thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day.
All right. Thank you guys.